Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's been a while, but today I wanted to talk a little bit about this little, well, it's not really little. It's the 18-inch ASUS ROG STRIX Scar 18, which, yep, indeed has the brand spanking new NVIDIA GeForce RTX5090 in it. So if you're wondering, should you buy this or not, stick around, because I am going to be checking it out pretty thoroughly in CYBERPUNK 2077 and also in Assassin's Creed Shadows. So should be a pretty interesting video, I hope. And yeah, I'm gonna give my feedback how I've been using it for quite some time now, because I did get it a little bit before launch, so I could like publish this review on time. And also, if you're wondering how it compares to the previous generation Scar 18 with a 4090, then I'm gonna leave a link down below, because I did a review of the 2023 model. The 2024 model has a little bit better CPU, Intel 14th gen, but the 2023 has the 13th gen. So there's a little bit difference there, and maybe some driver difference, but I don't have the Scar 18 2023 anymore, so yeah, I can't like compare it with the latest drivers and stuff like that, right? But the review is down below in the description if you wish to compare stuff like that, because yeah, I am going to be running the same tests in CYBERPUNK 2077, and yeah, maybe some patches improve performance of CYBERPUNK 2077 a little bit now, a few years later. But yeah, it still should be a pretty interesting test here. But yeah, anyway, first of all, taking it out of the box, you can instantly feel the weight of this thing. This one here is the bigger 18-inch model that you can also get as 16-inch, but the exact weight for the Scar 18 is about 3.3 kilograms or 7.2 pounds. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit heavy, a little bit too heavy for a laptop in my opinion. And it's also pretty beefy, as in it's thick. But when you place it on your desk, it does look absolutely stunning. A bit big, but this thing is literally built for performance, right? It has a 5090 in it after all. It should handle anything you throw at it with relative ease. Now, a bit about the specs. The 2025 Scar 18 comes with the brand spanking new Intel Core Ultra 9 275HX that is running at up to 5.4 GHz in games. Next, we do find the brand new NVIDIA GeForce RTX5090 with 24 GB of GDDR7 memory. And the main difference between the desktop 5090 and the laptop 5090 is that this one here has, well, half as much as CUDA cores as the desktop model. So 21,760 versus 10,496. And the desktop version also has 32 gigs of memory, while yeah, this one has 24 gigabytes. Also, the desktop version eats 575 watts of power, while the laptop counterpart only draws 95 to 150 watts. That can go up by another 25 watts by dynamic boost. So don't expect like desktop PC performance out of this 5090. That's not what it does. But it's still the best graphics card in the world for a laptop right now. Moving on, there's also 64 gigabytes of DDR5 memory running at 5600 MHz here, and a 2 TB M.2 PCI Express 4.0 SSD here. And I also did a little bit research on like why only 5600 MHz, why not like 6400 or something like that. There's, I think if I understood correctly, there's not a lot of options for that speed at 64 gigabytes. So you could install like higher speed RAM in, but at lower megabytes, right? Also, something to note here is that you can now remove the bottom cover to upgrade the memory or SSDs without needing to use a screwdriver. Although I do have to mention that I really couldn't figure out how to open this damn thing. in the first place. I had to actually ask ASUS for a little bit help. Maybe they could add like like a arrow, like slide here or something like that. It's not really that simple as it sounds, because I just tried to pry it open. I pushed the slide button to the side and then tried to open it, but I needed to slide it down. So yeah, that's maybe they could do it a little bit better. But once you know how to do it, right, you can Google, right, so that's pretty easy. Then changing out memory or M.2 SSDs is really simple. Even the M.2 SSDs, you don't have to use a screwdriver anymore. There's a simple notch there. So yeah, it's pretty neat. I really love this feature, and the bottom cover still stays on really sturdily, even without any screws, just via the hinge or latch mechanism here. Now, coming to the overall build quality of the 2025 SCAR18 is great. A rugged and well-built machine. Nothing flimsy or squeaky, and of course you can open the 18-inch screen lead with just one finger. To be more precise, it is using an 18-inch ROG Nebula HDR display with a 16:10 ratio running at 2560x1600 with 3 millisecond response time and 240 Hz, which also supports G-Sync technology. So yeah, it's not an OLED, right? You don't get those deep blacks, but it's still a really nice Nebula display here, and it's still pretty neat considering it's a laptop, an 18-inch laptop, right? Which has a 5090 in it, and 240 Hz. That's really nice. Now, one of the first things I noticed when turning on the laptop was the beautiful RGB lighting that emanates from all sides of the laptop, thanks to the RGB light bars here. And the beautiful full-sized RGB keyboard also felt really great to use and to type on. There's also some quick launch keys here and a dedicated Copilot button to quickly bring up the AI-assisted helper that works really well to help you navigate whatever part of the world you are. Maybe you're traveling somewhere. The AI assistant is actually pretty neat in finding stuff to do, or where to eat, or where to go out, right? Really quickly, and give you directions from where you are and how to go there. It's a nice feature, and the more years go on, right, the better the AI stuff gets. So yeah, I mean, the Copilot button is nothing special here, but it is here, so you can quickly bring up the Windows 11 Copilot assistant. Now, moving on to some other things, the mousepad. We can see that it's pretty darn large, very comfortable to use, although I'm always gonna be a fan of dedicated mouse buttons on the bottom part, but it does look a little bit better with just one large pad, right, that can act as buttons as well. Now, coming to one of the most unique features of the new SCAR18 has to be the Anime Vision lighting array on the lid. You can customize it a little bit through the Armoury grade software that can be easily accessed via one push of the hotkey button, and it does look unique. Anyway, moving on, something that I did notice while checking this thing a little bit closer was that the main heatsink has been placed exactly at the back side of the entire back side of the SCAR18, and there are huge open holes at the back to help push the hot air out from the back. This means that there's no hot air coming from either the right or the left side of the laptop, which is really great if you're an external mouse enjoyer, right? You want to use your right hand to move your mouse, or maybe you're a lefty and you want to use your left. There's no actual cables also. That's really nice. They've even put the charging cable at the corner of the laptop, while on the 2023 model it was in the middle of the laptop, which was quite odd. But yeah, you can easily use the mouse on either side of the laptop, and there's no hot air blowing onto your hands, which is nice because it does have a 5090 in it with the Intel Core 9 Ultra 275HX, which do get a little bit hot, but I'm gonna touch upon that in the benchmarking section. But the neat part here is, as in previous on the 2023 model that I tested, is that when you're using the laptop and playing for hours on end, right, like something like CYBERPUNK, right, the keyboard part doesn't really get hot. Now, the upper part where the hotkeys are, that's getting a little bit hot. But when using the keyboard, vast keys and stuff like that, it doesn't get hot, which is really, really nice. It gets a little bit warm, but that's about it. So you can comfortably play with the internal keyboard here and don't have to use an external keyboard. Of course you can do that, but yeah, it's neat that ASUS has discovered a cool way to cool the keyboard, or somehow have the hotter parts away from the keyboard where the vast keys are, which is pretty neat. Now, before I begin with my benchmarking section, let's quickly take a peek at the web camera as well. How good the visual quality is, how good the microphone is. Can you like do something more than Zoom calls on this thing, right? Because it is a proper gaming laptop. Maybe you want to do like gaming videos or gaming live streams or something like that from this laptop. Can you use the integrated web camera? Is it good quality? Let's check it out. Alright, so this is the web camera quality of the 2025 SCAR 18, and yeah, it's pretty fuzzy. It's not really ideal, right? And if you're listening to my voice, it's pretty bad. It's bad. And also what I noticed is I can't just hit the quick launch button to bring up the ROG Armory Grate to, you know, go into the system settings here and stuff like that to actually find a better audio mode. There's no audio selection in the Armory Grate, so I need to download another ASUS, my ASUS app. And here I can go into the device settings and bring up the microphone's audio cancelling software, right? So I can actually tweak and fine-tune, like select the better option for me. Right now what you're hearing is me talking without any AI noise cancelling software turned on. Now there's a couple of options here, like stereo enhance mode, which I now enabled. There's also directional recording mode, which I enabled now, and 360 degree recording mode, which I enabled now. I'm gonna turn it off again, right? And I'm gonna play a song. All right? So now you should be hearing a song playing from my JBL speaker here next to the laptop. And I'm gonna switch between the AI noise cancelling modes here, so you can hear how well it disables like music that is coming like not really loudly but next to the laptop, right? So I'm gonna click on the stereo enhance mode. So now the stereo enhance mode is enabled. The AI noise cancelling software records a wider soundscape using the left and right channels, good for live music and other immersive experiences. And also I'm gonna then select the directional recording mode, which reduce ambient noise from the surrounding to capture the best tone and audio detail coming from the front of the laptop. And then the last one here is the 360. Now I enabled 360 recording mode, which reduces the ambient noise from your surroundings to capture the best tone and audio details from all around you. Like, I guess like it's mostly gonna like try to like cancel out like hisses and hums and stuff like that. Like if your PC is really loud, right, the fans are spinning really loudly, it might like reduce that. Like maybe you're playing a game and doing something, right, with this web camera. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna mute the music here for a second. Yeah. The web camera is subpar, and hopefully ASUS does something about this, because year after year they're improving everything but the web camera. Why? I don't know why. I don't know. So anyway, yeah, this is the web camera quality of the 2025 SCAR 18. So as you could see, the web camera is a little bit subpar, right? I don't really understand why, because I can see that kind of webcam quality from a $500 laptop, and yeah, you can instantly see that the lens is really small. I really don't understand why they don't put like a bigger lens on the bigger laptops here. This doesn't make sense. We're already paying premium. Is a bigger lens so much extra money you don't put it there or something like that? I don't really know. But yeah, the web camera, it's here, it's for Zoom calls, for work calls, for school calls, right? But anything else, yeah, not really recommended. Anyway, let's jump into the benchmarking section. There's nothing too complex here, but these benchmarks should give us a great idea on how powerful this thing today and maybe tomorrow is, right? Firstly, keep in mind that the resolution of the display is 2560 by 1600 and the NVIDIA drivers I was using were the 572.84 and I am using the best performance operating mode possible on the SCAR 18, which is the turbo operating mode. Well, actually it's manual, but I'm gonna get into that a little bit later. If you feel you're missing a little bit FPS, be sure to check what operating mode you are in on the SCAR 18. There's a small little button for that on the hotkey part on the keyboard. Switching the modes won't just switch the fan curves, but also the DGP. So yeah, keep this in mind when you buy a SCAR laptop to manually select a preferred mode for your current task. So silent mode for when you browse the web or play some really low graphics video games, right? Watch streams, stuff like that. And performance or turbo mode if you don't mind the louder fan noise, but want the best performance possible. On a note here, you can actually get even more power from the laptop by using manual mode in the ROG Armoury Grade software, which further boosts the PL1 by extra 5 watts, but also will crank the fans to always stay at 100%. Not really recommended unless deaf or you got good headphones and are living alone. So, the first test was a quick little CINEBENCH R23 that gave the Intel Core Ultra 9 275HX here 2185 points in single core test and 32,979 points in the multi-core test. Next up, I went into CRYSTALDISKMARK to see how good the SSD here is, and as you can see, it got about like 6800 megabytes of reads and 6300 megabytes of write speeds. Pretty nice for the PCI Express 4.0 M.2 slot. So how about the actual video games? First off, I launched Ubisoft's latest and greatest Assassin's Creed Shadows. I ran a few tests here. Firstly, I cranked all the settings to the maximum settings possible without DLSS support, but with ray tracing turned on, as for some strange reason you can't disable ray tracing in the newest Assassin's Creed game. Anyway, the result here was a mild 39 frames per second as average. I then proceeded with another run, but this time I also enabled DLSS on the performance setting, and the result then was much healthier, 56 frames per second as average. That's pretty fine, but nothing amazing considering the insane hardware here. But thankfully, the 5090 also allows us to use frame generation. So I went back into the settings menu and enabled frame generation as well. Ran the benchmark again and 107 frames per second as average. That's a pretty impressive gain in my opinion, starting from 39 frames per second and ending a little bit above 100 frames per second. That's a pretty nice FPS boost if you ask me, and the picture quality still looked totally fine even with the performance DLSS and frame generation turned on. Next up, I did run Grand Theft Auto 5's benchmark mode to perhaps get a little bit of an idea on how would this thing perform in Grand Theft Auto 6. So after cranking all the settings to the maximum, no anti-aliasing, it got an average FPS of 146 frames per second on the last and longest pass the plane ride. A pretty decent result for a laptop. The FPS is mostly restricted by the CPU here. Anyway, moving on to the main course, CYBERPUNK 2077, a game that to this day looks absolutely insane in terms of graphics and as well as storyline. for both the main game and the expansion, which were, in my opinion, one of the best I've ever played. It was a true masterpiece, if you ask me. So, how does the 2025 SCAR 18 with its GeForce RTX5090 perform here? Well, I ran a ton of tests here, and first off is a default run, right? 2560 by 1600, maximum graphics, no DLSS and no ray tracing, and it got 66.2 frames per second. Next, I also enabled ray tracing at its psycho setting, and the FPS dropped to 41.1, which isn't that bad. It's not that bad. Decently above 30 at least. Next, I also enabled DLSS. So now, ray tracing on psycho settings, DLSS on ultra performance, and it got 137.9 frames per second. That's a super nice boost out of pretty much thin air, right? The visual image still looked almost the same. Maybe you notice a little bit of artifacts here and there, but yeah, maybe more on bigger screens. But on the 18-inch, it still stayed very nice, and instead of 41 frames per second, we got 137. I just love DLSS. Anyway, moving on. Nvidia also has something called frame generation, which further enhances the DLSS performance. So now, ray tracing turned on psycho settings, DLSS on ultra performance, and frame generation turned on as well. It got 310.8 frames per second. That's freaking nutty. But wait, there's more. Now you can also turn on path tracing in Cyberpunk 2077. So again, ray tracing on psycho and path tracing turned on as well. DLSS on ultra performance and frame generation turned on. And 263.2 frames per second as average. Absolutely insane. This laptop is meant for games, and thanks to the Nvidia's 5000 series top of the line 5090, you can use these features like DLSS and frame gen to further boost the FPS in your games by a long mile. So I wanted to end the benchmarking here, but I thought, what happens if we, disable ray tracing but enable DLSS on ultra performance and leave frame generation on? What about then? 407 frames per second. That's absolutely ridiculous. 407 frames per second, over 400 FPS in Cyberpunk 2077. Easily can utilize the beautiful 240Hz 18-inch screen here, and it's an insane pleasure to play Cyberpunk 2077 on this laptop. And I did actually run one simple test more. I just disabled frame generation, and the result was 108.1 frames per second. So just by enabling frame generation, like almost quadrupled the FPS. Absolutely insane. Frame generation is nutty. And the picture quality, totally fine. I mean, if you ask me, do you want a little bit like 10% clearer picture, 100 FPS, or like 10% worse picture quality, but 400 FPS, which one would I take? Of course 108, right? No, 400. Of course 400 FPS. What the actual F? Now, after all these benchmarks, I checked the temperatures. I did leave hardware info on the background to keep tabs on the temperatures, and well, it's hot. Maximum temperatures 107 degrees Celsius, but Intel also tries to remind us that you don't necessarily want to look at the peaks, but the average temperatures, right? And the average temperatures, they were like around 70 to 84 degrees Celsius on the 275 HX Intel Core Ultra 9, right? So they're still pretty high up there, pretty hot. And I did check out the 5090 temperatures as well, and it stayed about like 73 degrees Celsius, even when, doing a lot of benchmarking on this thing constantly, right? Running to Cyberpunk 2077 tests, and it didn't go above 73 degrees Celsius. But I was also using I was using the turbo operating mode, right? So the fan speed was a little bit high, but nothing like too crazy. But it is really, it's a loud laptop. It's a powerful and a fat laptop, right? So these fans, to keep this heatsink cool here, they need to push hot air quickly out. But yeah, the overall noise levels were fine, maybe even a little bit quieter than most super high-end gaming laptops. Nothing too crazy, and mostly because ASUS has been trying to innovate every year to find a better and quieter solution each time, and using the 3 ROG arcflow fans inside here seems to work out pretty decently, although like the peak temperatures are still, in my opinion, a little bit ridiculous. Anyway, lastly, I did check out the battery as well. Yes, it is installed somewhere here. There is a battery inside here. It works. Oh, you want like actual numbers, right? So, well, what I did was like, I took a live stream video on YouTube. What you would do normally, right, in a normal use case scenario. You take a live stream from YouTube or maybe Twitch, you put it on full screen, you put the brightness down because you're on battery. I put the brightness down to 50%, volume also down to 50%, so music was always playing, so real life scenario, right? And like I'm watching a movie or something from the battery. And like about 2 hours. And this is also when switching from the 5090 through the MUX switch, right? Yeah, MUX switch, which they are using here. To switch from the 5090 to the Intel integrated graphics card to, you know, further like keep the battery life. But it could barely get 2 hours of use in such a situation. Of course, you can extend it by turning down the display brightness a little bit more, right? And not watching a live stream, maybe just doing some typing work, right? Of course, you can extend it, but like it wasn't like clearly over 2 hours. That's pretty low. That's pretty low, considering it switches to the Intel graphics card and in the silent operating mode. So the battery life is really concerning. Like, I don't understand why it needs to be that bad, because the same CPU, this 275HX, if I'm not mistaken, I did test out a couple of laptops months ago, and with the Intel integrated graphics card, and they got me like 16 to 17 hours of use from a single charge by watching a video, as like the same way, 50% brightness, 50% volume, YouTube live stream, and this can't even like clearly get over 2 hours. Now, I did actually manage to boost the battery performance a little bit by going into the Armoury grade software, where I manually switched it to eco mode. Like when you're going on a travel, right, and you know you're not gonna play, why not like manually put it in the best possible mode possible. So now that you have a much clearer idea how this thing performs in games and how the battery lasts, let me quickly touch upon a few other things as well. Like the audio, it uses 2 woofers inside here with a smart amp, Dolby Atmos sound, and it's decent loud clear volume, but I have heard a little bit better sounds, specifically when ASUS does sound with Harman Kardon. There's also quite a few useful I/O ports here, like a full-sized LAN board, a couple of USB-C Thunderbolt 5s, and some USB Type-A ports, along with a 3.5mm audio port and a HDMI 2.1 that can output 4K at 120 Hz. A small upgrade to mention here, as I mentioned it a little bit earlier, is that the charging port now is at the corner of the laptop here, which is really nice, because if you want to use, or if you're like a left-hand user and you use your mouse in the left hand, the cord won't be in the way, right? So that's really nice. A small little upgrade here. But yeah, overall pretty decent. The HDMI 2.1 is pretty neat, because you can, like, most people, if they buy such a powerful laptop, at one point they might think like, and I just want to use it as a desktop at home, right? So they put the laptop aside, use external keyboard and mouse, and then external monitor. So now you can actually use a 4K 120 Hz monitor and don't necessarily have to go back to 60 Hz. Ugh. So that's pretty neat. Anyway, that about covers my thoughts about the 2025 SCAR 18. My final verdict for the ASUS 2025 ROG STRIX SCAR 18 is an 8.5 out of 10. I did want to give it a perfect score, a 10 out of 10, right? But we have to be a little bit realistic here. Its weight is a bit too much for a laptop, and it's not that much faster than the previous previous SCAR that I tested, which was the 2023 model. And the 2024 might be even closer, right, with the little bit more powerful CPU there, the 14th gen Intel CPU with a 4090 in it, and it just costs a little bit too much in my opinion for what it is. And as I mentioned earlier, the web camera is something you would find on a $500 laptop. The biggest letdown though had to be the battery. The 2025 SCAR 18 has the power. It has the power to switch from the 5090 to the Intel GPU for the lighter tasks, but even then it could barely hit the 2-hour mark when watching a live stream from YouTube. But let's be real, I mean, how many of us who are buying this thing are ever going to be using it from the battery? And how many of those are going to be using the web camera? If you don't use those things, then this is a 10 out of 10 laptop, a 10 out of 10 5090 laptop in my opinion. It has everything you want. It's just a little, it's still gonna be a little bit expensive, but that's what you need to pay for top of the line laptop, which is built really well and super easy to upgrade as well, which is pretty nice. Anyway, that's going to be it for my quick little review here. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you did, leave a thumbs up and maybe subscribe. And yeah, if you have any questions, leave them down below. I'll try to answer them if I know the answers to those questions. Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great 2025, and hopefully I'll be back sooner rather than later with another interesting video. Ciao for now.